In this video, we're going to look at topic 21, example 2, where we rewrite an inequality to graph it. So the Science Club sells t-shirts for $10 each and keychains for $2 each to raise money. How many t-shirts and keychains could they sell to meet or exceed their goal of $500? So like any word problem, we want to define variables first. So we're going to say let x equal the number of t-shirts and we're going to say let y equal the number of keychains. Okay, so let's create an inequality based off of that. So we're looking to raise money, so we know we're going to deal with dollar amounts, and t-shirts are $10, so to figure out the total amount of money raised selling t-shirts, we would do 10 times x, so that'd be money raised with t-shirts, and then we're going to want to add to that, right? And the money that we raise with keychains would be $2 times the number of keychains sold. We want to compare that to a total of $500 and we want to see whether it should be greater than or less than. So our goal is to meet or exceed the goal of $500. So meeting would be equal to, so that's okay. And we want to exceed that 500, so the amount of money raised has to be greater than or equal to $500. All right, so they're asking us to graph this as well. So we want to find some values. We're going to shade some regions, things like that. You do have some options here. You could graph this using x and y intercepts, which if you understand how to do, by all means, go for it. They do ask us to rewrite in this specific problem, so they're looking for more of a slope-intercept problem. So let's isolate y, and then we can rewrite the inequality so that we can graph it. So let's subtract 10x and start the process of isolating y. I'm going to put the x value in front of the constant just because I want to put this in y equals mx plus b form. And then I'm going to divide everything by 2. Make sure you divide each term by 2 and not just the 500. So we get negative 5x plus 250. So that gives me a y-intercept of 250 and a slope of negative 5. Okay, so this one isn't going to be the easiest to graph based off of this information, but we're going to make it work. So the y-intercept is 250, which will be somewhere here. And then we're going to have to find the slope, the next point based on the slope. So if we have a slope of negative 5, it's going to be kind of tough here based on the graph to go down by 5 and over 1. So what I'm going to recommend we do is we take this slope, or this rise over run, and let's enlarge it. All right, so if we go negative 5 over 1, we can go anything that is in that form that'll reduce to negative 5. The x values here are going up by tens, so what I'm going to recommend is that we multiply this by 10 over 10, and that's going to give us negative 50 over 5, sorry, not over 5, over 10, negative 50 over 10, which is going to be a little bit easier for us to graph. Remember that these two are equivalent, because if I reduce them, I get the same number. So all I'm doing is just creating kind of a bigger, larger version. I'm almost like zooming in. All right, I'm enlarging the slope in this case. So let's keep those highlighted. And let's say that these two are equivalent. So now for my rise, I'm going to do negative 50, which is pretty convenient because I was at 250, and if I drop 50 places, I go to 200. And then I'm going to run 10, which will bring me from 0 to 10. So I'd have a point right here, all right, which falls perfectly on my grid, which is rather convenient for this problem. All right, and then we can connect those dots and just extend that line all the way down to the x-axis. So I'm able to kind of shortcut this here because I can make a straight line with this. So it's going to drop down to somewhere about 50. Okay. You would be able to find the x and y intercepts, remember, if you use standard form, where in fact the x-intercept is actually 50. Okay, so we have our graph. I didn't even mention it, but a solid line is good, so I'm glad that that works because it's greater than or equal to. And since it's greater than, we want to shade the region above, right? We're drawing an arrow up. So let's shade that whole region in. So our solution would be everything over here. Okay, all of this works. So we have a lot of options, which makes sense, right? The more we sell, the more money we're going to make. So it's kind of a technically an infinite amount of money, but realistically speaking, there would be some kind of limit. Probably not going to sell 30 million keychains. Okay, so let's graph this, fill that in, color it kind of nicely, and then we have our solution. The question is, how many t-shirts and keychains could they sell to meet or exceed their goal of 500? Anything in this region would work. Okay, so something like maybe you sell 60 t-shirts and 80 keychains. All right, that would make more than enough money. Maybe you sell 40 t-shirts and 160 keychains. So any of these numbers here are solutions and would work for our fundraising goals. The try it question, they're asking you, will the science club meet their goal if they sell 30 t-shirts and 90 keychains? So that 30 and 90, they're not very nice to us here because that 30, this looks like it could potentially be 100. 90 is probably here. So I'm going to say that no, they're not going to make enough money if they sell 30 t-shirts and 90 keychains. You could test that by plugging it into the inequality and see if it works. But kind of based on our graph here, they're going to come up short of their goal if they were to sell only 30 t-shirts and 90 keychains. That's it. Should be good to go.